And welcome back, guys, to another video. I wanted to talk to you guys about the win that Colorado got. I think that for the first time when I'm watching them play, even when they were down 13-0, I wasn't concerned. Usually in the past, if they were down by that much, I would have a little bit of fear, knowing that the game could get out of control. And I know when they're down that early by that margin, it sort of puts the excuse on the team's dynamic in terms of their offensive output. It puts an excuse to be one dimensional, right? Because you're down by double digits. And the excuse is we have to throw the ball to try to catch up. We're trying to get chunk yards and score quickly. And I thought that Colorado will go into a mode of being totally one dimensional, that which would make it very easy for Texas Tech to kind of, capitalize on them understanding and seeing the trend and seeing the direction that Colorado was moving it towards. But it didn't matter. The offensive line played well, even when Texas Tech knew that Colorado were, trying to throw the ball. They were still able to mitigate the avalanche and the stampede of the Texas Tech defensive line. What I did see is that Shador still tends to hold the ball a little bit too long. I didn't like the sack that he took. Um, I think it was in the third quarter, I believe, and the commentators were saying it. They were like, "Just throw the ball away. You're in field goal range." I think that was when they had gotten a turnover from Texas. They turned Texas Tech over. They got the ball back, and Shador Sanders and the Buffaloes went three and out. And I was like, what was that about? And it was a three and out that put them out of field goal range where they were already in field goal range. So things like that he needs to work on. He sort of sometimes just wants to go for the big splash play. And I understand the mindset of an athlete. You're competitive, but sometimes you got to play smart. The objective is to put points on the board. Yes, we love for it to be 7-7 and touchdowns all the time. However, there are times where the game is not going to allow you to do that. You got to take what the defense gives you, and taking that sack, I believe it was in the third quarter. Taking that sack was huge. I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you doing? The over 14 penalties by Colorado is still something that they need to work on. But what sticks out to me the most is that Colorado, they're dominating teams and they're not even playing well. I'm gonna say that again. When I say playing well, I mean total complementary football, where the defense, offense, um, small amount of penalties in terms of the amount of penalties that they're getting, special teams. We're talking about total complementary football. They've yet to put everything together, and that's what's scary. If once they get to a point where they're playing complementary football on a consistent basis, then that's when they become that dominant team that Prime foresaw when he first came to Colorado, talking about bringing in his Louis luggage. But that takes time to build. I'm looking up at their record; they're 7-2. It's amazing because the commentators even mentioned it. They said the Kansas State game, I believe, he said they were one play away, they were one quarter away from actually almost being undefeated this year. They did lose to Nebraska, of course. That's the only loss that I feel like, okay, you guys didn't really play well. The Kent State game, I'm like, come on, guys, they lost that. However, the team looks good, and the defensive line. And if you ask me, I know everyone is so focused on what Shador Sanders does and what Travis Hunter does, but I'm looking at their defense. I mean, they turned Texas Tech over, I think, three times. They stopped them on a couple of fourth down plays. Um, them being ranked number 20 is appropriate. Colorado is good. They're a good football team. And I didn't think that I would be able to say that because there were so many inefficiencies in terms of the dynamic and how they went about calling their offensive plays, and a lot of defensive breakdowns where they would allow big plays. But I'm not seeing that anymore. They're tackling better. Um, of course, they still give up a lot of yards running, and there are a lot of things that they can improve upon. But they're trending towards a good football team. Let me say that they're not a good football team, but that's the part that's scary. You have a team that's not really good, but they're 7-2. Now you may make the argument say they are good. They got good players. They have good players. But when I'm saying good, I'm speaking in terms of complementary football, where every phase of their team is strong. Now, certain parts of their team may be stronger than others, but in totality, you need every part to be strong. So let me give you an example. Let's say from a ranking system from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst to 10 being the best. Let's say you were ranking a team, a great team. So let's say a great team offensively, they're a 10. Defensively, they're an 8. Special teams, they're about an 8. That's complimentary. Anything that's about 7 or above, you're a good team. I'm not saying that all aspects of your football team need to be functioning on a 10. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that everything needs to be at a 10 level. There are not many football. There's no football team in college football right now that has a 10 on every aspect of their football team. So, but what I'm essentially trying to get at here is that every aspect of your team needs to be improved, needs to be functioning on a high level. And they're explosive offensively, man. Colorado, and I think that's what saves them. But then again, what you're starting to see is that the defense is starting to kind of put their mark on the team too. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Right now, they're 7-2. They've gone above my prediction. Remember earlier on in the year, I predicted that I didn't predict. I said if they did win 6 games, you would have to consider that a successful season. Right now, being 7-2, this is already a successful season. Now, we can nitpick about certain things we don't like because we're always striving to evolve and push towards, perfection and push towards a state of consistent dominance. I understand that. And that's just part of being, critical. And you have to be critical on yourself. If you're a fan of any football team, you have to be critical because you have to look at the parts that are weak and you're trying to shore up those weak parts because you don't want those weaknesses to be exploited by your opposition. And right now, the penalties is a big eyesore for me. They need to work on that. The Shedeur holding the ball too long, and then again, this game, I still feel like they could have been more balanced. But I understand they were down 13-0, but they were down 13-0 early. But then again, it's hard to say that they need to be balanced when their offensive weaponry in terms of their wide receivers and the play of Shedeur is so efficient and so explosive that it's almost like, well, we don't need a run game, but you do need a run game. You need to keep the defense honest. And the running game, the running backs that they do have on that team and the run blocking schemes of Colorado is good enough to keep the defense honest. I don't think that they utilize it that much. I'm not saying that if they ran 60 plays that they need to have 30 running plays, 30 pass plays. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that you need to run the ball enough to keep the defense honest. That's all. So Shedeur Sanders rallies number 20 Colorado in 41-27 win over Texas Tech. It says Shedeur Sanders threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for a score. Two-way star Travis Hunter had 9 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown, and number 20 Colorado overcame an early deficit to beat Texas Tech 41-27 on Saturday. See, when the article starts off, it starts off with just the offense. But I think that what's missing here is that they should have started off with the defense. The defense put the offense in many favorable situations. And the game could have been much worse than this. I believe that there were a couple of botched opportunities by Colorado to put more points on the board, particularly that play that I talked about when Shedeur held the ball and got sacked and totally put them out of field goal range. There were a couple of times when they were close to scoring, but something would happen and they would have to punt. It could have been almost 50-27. It could have been worse. It could have been much worse for Texas Tech. Sanders was 30 for 43, so he threw the ball 43 times. I personally would like to see Shedeur throwing between 30 to 35 times a game and then running the ball more. When he starts to throw in the 40s, that's when I kind of get, But it worked today because their defense helped them out. So I guess if their defense is going to be that stout and play to that level, then you can actually be kind of okay with Colorado being one-dimensional. But I'm not okay with that because it just doesn't look good when you're one-dimensional because teams can prepare for that and they can shut that down, and then what? So we'll see. But the dangerous thing about Colorado is that I believe that there's going to be a game this season where a team is going to think that let's just shut down their passing game. And then we're going to see the potential that we've never seen this year of how great that running back group is for Colorado. I don't use the word great lightly. We just haven't seen them at their best. It doesn't mean it's not there. I wouldn't be surprised if one day we see the running game for Colorado reach nearly 200 yards. I'm not talking about exclude Shador's runs. I'm not talking about his scrambles. I'm talking about it strictly from the running back group. I can see them this year gaining almost 200 yards. That's possible. That's not even something that's like, oh, it's far-fetched. It's very reasonable if they are intentional with actually running the ball and committing to exotic running schemes to open up those holes and create gap schemes that's going to allow the quarterback, allow the running back to get through those holes, because they have good running backs. So Sanders, he threw the ball 43 times. He was 30 of 43, and 291 yards. Shiloh Sanders, the other son of Buffalo's coach Deion Sanders on the team, recovered a fumble in the end zone with 51 seconds left. So when you're scoring touchdowns with your defense and you're making fourth down stops and you're turning teams over, that's complimentary football. That's complimentary football, because there are going to be times when your offense is not going to be clicking on all cylinders, or you need your defense to bail the offense out, and vice versa. You may have a game where the defense isn't playing so well. You're going to need the offense to put points on the board. And this is something great is happening in Colorado, and they're trending in the right direction as well. But the scary part is they haven't even put together a complete game yet, and they're 7-2. I want you guys to think about that. You can tell when Coach Prime talks. It's almost like, yeah, we were winning, but we're not winning the way I want to win. That's when you know you're becoming a great team. See, desperate, bad teams are just happy that they got the win. Colorado's beyond that now. Now, maybe the first year when Coach Prime came, it was okay just to get a W. It's like win by any means necessary. It doesn't matter if the win was ugly. We're just happy we won. It's to the point now when Colorado wins, they're actually upset if it was an ugly win. That's when you know you have a mindset of greatness. It's not about the wins. It's about winning in a certain way. It goes back to what Coach Prime always said. If you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you're going to play well. You're going to play good. And if you play good, they pay good. It all goes back to how it looks. It all starts with the look. That's the foundation. If you look good, you feel good. You can win, but how did you look in the win? Then when you look good in the win, you feel good about your team. And when you feel good about your team, it's like an addiction. You want that to continue. Then you want to play good. You want to continue that consistent playing, that good play. You want to continue that on a consistent basis. And then when you're doing that, you have a high degree chances of scouts coming to watch your team play, and most of your players on your team are going to be going to the NFL Combine and trying out for an NFL team, which means that you're going to be paid good. So look good, feel good, play good, pay good. Colorado 7-2, 5-1 in Big 12, number 20 in the college football rankings, and they won their third consecutive game. And it's on pace to play in the Big 12 championship game with a chance to qualify for the 12-team college football playoff. Can you believe that in Prime's second year? If that happens, they can win out, folks. I think that's what happens when you have the potential of a good team. It's almost like that when you're in science, they talk about potential energy. If you pull a rubber band back, and right, that's the potential energy. But when you let it go, I forgot what that's called. When you let it, potential energy is when you pull it back. And then I think kinetic energy is when you let it go, the force, the motion. And I think that's what's happening with Colorado. They had a lot of potential. They've always had potential. Even Coach Prime's first year, he was building something. But I think that all the adversity that he went through his first year, the ups and downs, losing 7 out of 8 games, they needed that. That was those are proper bitter ingredients that need to be put inside the sauce or put inside that gumbo to make it taste well, because the ingredients have to mix together to bring out something that's flavorful. But it has to be mixed. You can't have it alone. You can't go losing 7 out of your 8 games without this season. But you need both. You need that bad season last year, and you need this season to put everything in its proper perspective. And I think that the football team and the Colorado faithful, everyone is pushing behind Colorado now. And even the ones that were very hardcore critics against what Coach Prime was doing, you really have to applaud what he's doing with that football team, or what he's doing for that state, for that city, for that football program. Because I always said this: when you win, that becomes the ultimate deodorant to anything that stinks. Now it's hard to critique anything, because now, back then when they were losing, you want to start nitpicking, and I would do that. I'm like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? But even when they're winning, I'm still gonna nitpick it to a certain degree, because when they do play a very good team, I don't want that good team to exploit those weaknesses that I'm talking about. All right. So the Buffs led the Red Raiders 6-4. The Buffs led the Red Raiders. The Red Raiders now are 6-4 and 4-3 in conference by 2 touchdowns before Tech's Behren Morton threw his second touchdown pass of the game to Jane Conyers for 21 yards with 2 minutes and 12 seconds left. I remember that score. That's what made it 27. I did not want them to give up that touchdown, because I wanted the margin of victory to be much bigger than it was. But a win is a win, nevertheless. Shedeur Sanders threw 3 yards touchdown pass to LaJohntay Wester. That guy's fast. Midway through the second period, a 5-yarder to Will Shepherd in the third quarter, and a 24-yarder to Hunter minutes after in the third. It was a marvelous game. I loved watching the game. It was exciting. It made my weekend worth the while. It was great. So they're moving in the right direction. I like what I see. And you can see the even in the press conferences, Prime is very he's content, but he's not. No, I wouldn't even say he's content. I think he's happy. He's content with their trajectory, but he's not content with how they're playing. But he does it again. He has to be very careful as a coach, because as a coach, you have to remember you're dealing with the young men, so you don't want to beat them up too bad when they do win. You want to applaud the win, but you want to strategically pinpoint the deficits and the weaknesses that they had, and you have to talk about it in a way where you incentivize the team to improve upon those things. You don't want to do it in a way where you're beating them up, because they did win. Ultimately, you're playing the game to win. But there's a vision that Coach Prime has, and he's on a mission, and that mission has to look a certain way. Coach Prime has always been about the look. It's not about winning; it's how you win. Did you crush your opponent? Did you put your boot on their necks? This is what he wants. And correct me if I'm wrong. You leave a comment and tell me if I'm wrong. He wants teams. He's not going to say this, but I'm going to say this. Ultimately, what Prime wants is that when you see the Colorado Buffalo symbol before you play them, if they're on your schedule, he wants fear to flow through the veins and the body of his opponents before you even play them. You say, what do you mean? Well, when you're that dominant of a team, when people see the logo or the symbol of your team, they're like, oh man, well, that's going to be an L. Teams do that. There's certain teams that they won't admit it, because who's going to admit that they looked at their schedule and they just circled that team as an automatic L because they knew they had no chance of beating that team. That's the point. That's the place that Coach Prime is trying to get to. He wants his team to dominate so much that, number one, recruits are going to be flooding to come to 5-star recruits, 4-star recruits are going to want to be in Colorado. I mean, even the way they do their commercials and the way they hype up the game. If I was an athlete in high school and I was a 4 or 5-star athlete, I would want to go to Colorado, because they're getting the attention, they're getting TV time, and they get talked about, especially now that they're ranked. He wants to dominate so much that when you see the team, when you see Colorado on your schedule, you're already in fear. You're already in a state of fear. You're trembling. You're like, oh my God, how are we going to beat them? That's what happens when you dominate teams. See, Prime understands that every football game is a show and is a showcase. It's time for you to advertise for the public and for your future opponents of what they're going to deal with when they come play us. He wants dominance. He doesn't want even teams to think that they could beat them. Because we all know that football, as physical as it is, the majority of it is psychological and mental. If you have a mental advantage over your opponent, they've already lost the game before you played them because they're going to be trying to do things that they normally don't do. They're going to be playing out of character. So, Coach Prime wants this to look good. He wants this to look good. So I'm very impressed. I'm happy with the direction that they're moving in. I still believe that they needed to concentrate more on running the ball a little bit more, commit to being a little bit more balanced. What else? Cut down on the penalties. And Shedeur, stop holding the ball too damn long, man. Like, that's going to hurt you. You can't keep doing that. And some of you guys who don't know football, who are very, very, like, wet behind the ears in terms of football, some of those holding penalties on the offensive line is Shedeur's fault. Because he's holding the ball too long. You can't expect your offensive line to hold off the defensive line that much. And then you have Shedeur, he's not staying within the pocket or moving into the pocket to throw the ball. He starts to do that thing where he kind of carousels and does a 360 and turns. And then when the defensive linemen have a natural reaction to go after Shedeur, then you have the offensive line just naturally react and they hold because they're trying to protect their quarterback. So not all holding penalties are the offensive line's fault. And some of Shedeur's sacks are his fault. So we have to give kudos to that offensive line. They are much better than they were last year. They're blocking better, and they're keeping Shedeur upright, which is going to be great because if they're going to be moving into a possible 12-team playoff, they're going to need Shedeur to be healthy. They're going to need everyone to be healthy to be exact. They're going to need everyone to be healthy. And hopefully Horn comes back from his injury and he comes back 100%. But yeah, I'm very happy about what's going on with Colorado, and I'm still critiquing. It doesn't mean I'm hating. I'm happy that they're winning, but I'm still going to critique. Penalties, cut those down. Run the ball more, because when you're running the ball more, you're already a high-powered offense. If you can keep the ball away from your opponent and then score and then keep the ball away, you become a two-headed monster. See, a lot of the times Colorado scores too quickly and they give the ball back to the defense. To the opposing team. Huh? Okay, hold on. I'm going to come out in a minute, okay? Okay, I'm coming. All right, so that's the video here. I'm done here. So thank you guys for listening. Leave a comment to me what you guys think. And 7-2. Do you think they can win all out? Do you think they're going to win the Big 12 championship? Who's the biggest threat in the Big 12 to Colorado? Leave a comment at the bottom and tell me what you guys think. All right, till next time, guys. Peace.